So, hi, Kiran, and welcome to the About Her show. Now, this is a show where we get women achievers who we call women trailblazers to share the story of their lives with us, to tell us about, the challenges, ups and downs of their lives, the highs and lows, and how they, manage to navigate their life around all of those challenges. And the idea is to let the listeners who are there to get motivated and inspired, because a lot of women want to do various things but they're not able to do for various reasons. So we feel that when they listen to other women having accomplished or chased their dreams, followed their dreams, they could also get encouraged and motivated to do the same. And then we want to build a community of women who are there to help, support, and motivate each other. So a very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sangeeta. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So, fine, then let's just dive in and with the first question. So, tell us a little bit about your early life, your childhood, and if you feel that any of those experiences at that time they influenced the life path that you took or whatever you're doing today.
So, I was born and brought up in Bombay. My father worked in bank, and my mother was a housewife for most of my early years. The only thing I can think of is I was an only child, Sangeeta, and as an only child, you tend to be a little introverted. So I retreated into the world of books, which my father sort of encouraged terribly. I mean, given a choice between buying a toy and buying books, I would like drag him straight to the bookstore. And he never denied me books. He bought as many books as I would say. And, salaries at that point weren't much, but he never stinted on the books. So I had like a hugest collection of books as a child in the bank colony that we lived in. And I even had opened a circulating library with fees and fines and all of that. So many books did I have. I think that was the main influence, the fact that, I was allowed to read unfettered. And it was actually indulged and encouraged, and my marks never mattered. Academic performance or prowess never really mattered. I was never pulled up for not topping the class or anything, though my mother, I mean, it was very clear that I could have if I put in any effort, but I never bothered. But as long as she was happy and reading, I think my parents were about just content with that. So that was the bulk of my childhood. And of course, my father passed away when I was very young. And I became even more of an introvert. So I turned more towards books. So that's how it sort of books became a solace and an escape, whatever you may call them.
So yeah, I guess when look at the way your life has shaped out, I think books have always had a major role to play in your life. And if I may say so, even I was somewhat like that. And even I had a little library of my own where I used to lend to people and get terribly upset when they wouldn't return the books to me.
I had a fine system and everything, so much fine if you're 1 day late, 2 days late.
Yeah, eventually I had to do the same because otherwise people wouldn't return. All right.
It's lovely.
So tell me, as a child, did you have any dreams, any aspirations of what you would be when you grew up?
Honestly, no. I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I remember somebody asking me when I was in school or early junior college, what do you plan to be? And I very honestly answered that I really don't know what I'm going to do. I've never thought about it. And they were quite shocked because how can you not think about it?
Yeah.
All I knew that I was good at language, I was good at writing, and perhaps I would go into that space. So when I passed through my 10th board at that time, I got a decent percentage, which was, I forget now, 80 something or 70 plus, late 7. I don't remember exactly what it was. But I took arts. And at that time, it was if you got over a certain percentage, I'm talking back 86, you had to get into science. That was like the given. The smart kids got into science and the weakest ones took arts. And for 1 week after I had taken admission, my house was like a mourning house with relatives and family friends coming to offer condolences to my mother. Why did you let her take arts? Arts mein kya future hai? Itna percentage mein science mein to easily mil jata. It was that kind of a thing. But my mom was very cool. She was like, let her do what she wants to do. So I majored in literature, English literature, and I went on to first become a copywriter at an advertising agency. I sort of drifted, Sangeeta. I never had a path planned. Went into advertising, went into journalism, went into news journalism, then feature writing, and I just kept drifting throughout. So I don't recommend it for anyone, to be honest.
But then ultimately, I think writing, then, I mean, if you look at everything that you've done, writing has been a major part. So I think that's how you have gravitated towards becoming an author. And now, of course, everything else. So it has to do with being a literary person, isn't it?
More than literary, I think it is storytelling. So it's always about telling stories, whether it's been through journalism or whether it's been through the books or whether it's been through the columns or the blogs or even now through podcasting. It's
Yeah.
always about telling a story. So I think that has been, and even through the qualitative research and trend spotting that I did for quite a few years, it's always been telling stories.
So then that means you have a knack for that, isn't it? Not everybody can tell them, as effectively.
I don't know if I have a knack, but I definitely love telling stories. So
Okay. So tell me, anyone who wants to get into this space of writing books or becoming an author, are there any tips that you would like to share?
hmm, I think the first and foremost, I mean, far be it from me to pretend to have any wisdom on it because I'm still bluttering around. But I think the first thing and the most essential thing is to read a lot. I see a lot of people trying to come into this space without having read enough. So, there's they may have a great story idea, but they don't know how to tell it. They don't have the craft. They don't have the language. They don't have this. I don't expect everyone to be perfect first with the first draft, but put the basics in place.
Yeah.
So that only comes with reading extensively and over multiple genres. If you've read in a single genre, that will show in your writing because your writing will be very reductive and derivative. So read across genres, read multiple authors, take risks in your writing. Don't, say that, okay, mythology is doing damn well now, so I will write mythology, or, spy thrillers are doing well, so I will write. Because you have to understand that what is selling right now has been written 3 or 4 years ago, and by the time it's got a publisher and gone through the editorial and cover design and typesetting process, it's at least a couple of years. So you're, 3, 4 years behind the wheel if you're thinking on those lines already when you've thought of it. Go into the market and see who are the publishers who are publishing the kind of books that you want to write.
Okay.
And target them. Go into the stores, see the books, see the publishers, look at the acknowledgements at the back and see who are the editors, the authors thanked, so you know whom to approach.
Okay, that's a great tip. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not just, cold calling, sending out cold emails without, a name to it. You know whom to address the mail to.
Yeah.
Every publisher website has their submission guidelines on it. Follow them strictly to a T. Make your cover letter brief. Your cover letter doesn't have to be about your entire story, the entire plot. It just has to be about you and a brief para about the story. And then you have the follow, which you will give a synopsis and you'll give few chapters in your query. So polish that and make that as sharp as you can. And the basics, of course, Sangeeta, I see a lot of people neglect it. Do your spell check, do your grammar check.
Yeah. Correct. I agree.
So that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah. And you will be rejected. It's nothing personal.
Yeah.
I mean, even after I've written so many books, I still get rejected. I still have to keep hunting for publishers. All of us do. So it's nothing personal and nothing to be dejected about. You just keep putting the book out in the market continuously until somebody picks it up.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, a lot of persistence, patience, and I think consistent effort is what you're saying we should be aiming to.
And a very thick skin.
Yeah. That is much required. So tell me, when you embarked on this journey of being a storyteller, as you say, and of course, apart from the challenges that you faced in terms of, opting for arts or, going into this, a way of life from people, what were some of the other challenges that you faced? And did you face any challenges because of your gender?
I wouldn't say so because in terms of, I am privileged enough to come from an urban background. And there are the only challenges one face because of one's gender is one tends to get boxed in certain categories. So if you're writing, then the first thing people will ask you if you say you're an author is, do you write romance? Do you write chick lit? So it's just the assumptions people make. But I mean, what the hell? You are out there to destroy those assumptions. And you tell them that you write thriller and you write horror and you write everything else under the sun. The only challenges I would say I face because of my gender is I don't know if I should say this, but your work is not taken seriously.
Okay.
Even it's considered a hobby. Even by folks, my husband is terribly supportive and thank God for that. But even, within the immediate circumference, it's seen as, okay, she's a writer. She doesn't have fixed hours. She can do, she's available.
Okay.
And plus, I hear a lot of male writers say, I get up at 4 o'clock and I write uninterrupted. Then I will go for a long walk. Then I will do this. And I'm like, who's making the tiffin boxes? Who's managing the kitchen? Who's doing all of that stuff? Who's putting the clothes away? I mean, all this domesticity that keeps intruding, there's never the luxury of time uninterrupted to write the way you should get. So that's a gender issue that I think not just me, every woman author faces. I think Sashi Deshpande has written a lovely bit about it in her memoir, Listen to Me. And Anita Desai too spoke about it in her interviews about how she would only write when her kids went off to school every day. And she couldn't get any writing done during the summer vacations. So, I think it's something most women writers with a family face. So nothing to crib about, but these are just small niggles that, Virginia Woolf did say, woman needs a room to herself and money if she's to write fiction. So that still holds true all these years later.
And you think, despite the fact that women are kind of, juggling different roles and still being able to do everything that they have to, you think women authors, or for that matter, women anything, are not taken as seriously as their male counterparts?
So there's this very interesting quote. I forget who said it. It says, Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did. And she did it backwards and in high heels. But he got more applause.
Yes.
So that's how it is.
And it hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. You do everything and you do more. You look at the I mean, there are research statistics, I don't have them on hand, that women get reviewed far less than male authors do in mainstream publications. Male readers will pick up male writers more often than they pick up women writers. Women readers are gender agnostic, they pick up both. And women's writing just there can be very intense, serious writing, but it will all get slotted into this amorphous whole called women's writing. You don't have a men's writing.
No, you don't.
Right. Yeah. And because it is slotted in that, it gets diminished in a way, it gets reduced to, a gender-based writing, which is wonderful. I mean, it has the perspective of the gender, but you don't see it the other way around for men's writing. That is like worldview and important. A woman can write about domesticity and home and heart and write a lovely thing. It will be seen as narrow and domestic and internal. But men's writing, the same kind of subject can be seen as deep and, evocative and whatever, essential life reading or something like that. So you have chick lit, but do you have, the male lit?
Yes, got it.
I'm not going to say the word on the podcast.
Yeah,
you have that. So
I guess this is like any other profession where there is a CEO and there is a woman CEO, they talk like that, an engineer and a lady doctor. And so all of these, they come with that prefix that, it's a woman. So you have to say that. Yeah. All right. So tell me, in a normal day, of course, we have our own, I mean, the normal routine to get through, but then we all are humans and we go through our, ups and downs and highs and lows. So, are there any tips that you can again share, or any mantra that you have of staying motivated and inspired every single day?
I'm very bad at that, to be honest. I think, but I do believe, Sangeeta, that we try to push ourselves too hard to be productive all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Oh,
always on this productivity wheel like little hamsters. How many words have you churned out? In my author speak, how many words have you done today? How much have you done today? How many tasks have you done? Have you done your to-do list? Have you ticked everything off your to-do list?
yeah.
And after a point, you just feel very mechanical, and it sort of sucks the joy out of living. So sometimes I feel it's good to just not have a plan and just uh, let the field lay fallow for
Mm,
some time and
okay.
just absorb the world and have days of nothingness where you're doing nothing but absorbing, reading, watching, meeting people, and just re-energizing and refueling yourself.
Okay.
Taking a holiday is what most people do, but I think within the week also, you should have pockets in your day to just do nothing. Maybe
Hmm.
schedule in those pockets of doing
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, yeah. I think that's very important, because I think that when you're doing nothing, you're kind of, like you said, refueling yourself. Because otherwise, I think when you just keep going from one task to the other, you're just sapping yourself out of energy and, maybe more inspiration or something, because it's just kind of is very, very mechanical. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it takes the joy out of things, because then you just
Yeah.
have to kind of tick it off rather than enjoy and savor it. Yeah, yeah. So, of course, life, has a way of teaching us many things as we go along, right? I mean, there are
Hmm.
lessons that we learn and mistakes that we make. So, as a woman, is there anything that you would like to just tell maybe young girls or other women to be wary of, or to be careful about when it comes to, their lives?
It's something that I say very often every time I'm called to give a talk, and I keep saying, learn to be selfish.
Okay.
We are always pushing ourselves, and I did it myself for the longest time.
Mhm.
You try to be the perfect daughter, you try to be the perfect mother, you try to be the perfect wife, and you try to be the perfect daughter-in-law, the perfect, homemaker. Your house should be perfect, you should be perfect, everything should be immaculate, and the bache ka school ka tiffin should be perfect, everything should be running on steroids. But and you cut yourself no slack.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, who is worn out, who is tired, who is depressed, who is grumpy, who is exhausted perennially, and nobody will step up to the plate to help you because you've taken it all on yourself.
Yes.
So just be selfish, know what you want to do, what your duty is, do. Don't go beyond that. If you have to ensure that 3 meals are on the table, do that. Get help, get staff to do it. It's not essential that you have to kill yourself every time to make perfect meals.
Yeah.
Uh, if you have to, have the kid dropped off and picked up school, get organize help to do that. You don't have to be going and standing outside the school gate every day,
Hmm.
unless they are very little and you feel a little worried. So learn to delegate, learn to cut yourself slack, be selfish, take time out of for yourself and do what you want to do. Find your passion. Once you found what you want to do, then you will yourself make the time for yourself to do
Yeah.
it. But the more you keep doing for others, it's a never ending wheel. You just keep doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And and after a point, you will not be able to get off that wheel.
Yeah, that is right. Because you've kind of given them, I mean, you've kind of made them habitual of your always being there.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Mm.
So that means what you're trying to say is that we need to have our boundaries in place. What is it that we can do?
Absolutely.
What is it that we should do? And like they
Mm.
say, charity begins at home. So first set your boundaries and then communicate those boundaries to people so that they don't take advantage. Because I think then they are not to be blamed. You are only kind of
Mm.
training them to, treat you like this. All right.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
expect more and more from you, and it just keeps escalating the
Yeah. Yeah.
expectations.
So I think, yeah, we need to do that. So, but Kiran, tell me something in today's day and age when I think it's kind of a given, but we still see a lot of young girls who are not somewhere wanting to be independent. So here, when I'm talking about independence, I'm talking about financial and emotional independence. How much do you think these are critical to a woman's life, and what would you have to say about this to the younger generation?
See, at the moment, I'm not financially independent, so I'm not going to give any gyan on that. So, so post the pandemic, so of course there is income. It's not as
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
and whatever it is, but there is some income. But yeah, I think financial and emotional independence is very, very important, Sangeeta. I'm so glad you spoke about this. Such an
Mm.
important thing because we are conditioned to expect that we women should be secondary earners in the house if they earn, if they are earning, or women should put their careers on the back burner and give priority to the husband's career and be trailing spouses
Yeah.
because of course there will be children and whatever. Uh, where would you be without a spouse or a partner or a lover or a boyfriend?
Hmm, hmm,
You're
hmm.
so emotionally dependent or a part or whatever your thing is. Where would you be alone? You cannot grow old alone. You cannot,
Yeah.
see, you're not allowed to visualize yourself growing old alone. Why?
Hmm,
You
hmm.
need to just visualize yourself being happy, whether in a partnership or whether alone, whatever makes you happy. And if anything is not making you happy, you need to have the courage to walk away from it. But
Correct.
sometimes in marriages, then the courage to walk away from it will only come if you're financially independent. So
True.
that is, another chicken and egg syndrome. So keep your financial independence, love your husband, share. I forget who said it. I think it was Lucille Ball, if I'm not mistaken. Love your husband, cherish your husband, and get as much as you can in your name. But that's an evil thing to do. But I was saying, don't get as much as you can in your name, but have your own nest egg, have your own financial independence.
Hmm,
So that
hmm.
at any point, if you feel unhappy, disrespected in any way, you just have the courage to walk away. And
Yeah.
you're not financially dependent, at least emotionally, that takes a bit of a
Hmm.
working on.
But yeah, and also, like unforeseen circumstances, like especially what the pandemic taught us, something
Absolutely, absolutely,
right. You can't be so
absolutely,
dependent that if that person is not there, it should not mean that you're all at sea and you don't know what to do with your life.
absolutely. You need to have an independent life. And talking about financial independence, I know so many women who do not even know how to operate their bank accounts,
Yeah.
or to manage their finances, or to invest.
Hmm,
And they all come from the upper from privileged families.
hmm.
I think to myself, and I'm not great at it myself, but I'll be able to manage. But
Yeah.
know your money and know how to use and work your money and what to do and what money is where and what properties are where and what is everything. Be aware of things so
I
that if God forbid anything unforeseen happens, you're not all at sea and you're not dependent on anybody else to do the things for you, because a lot of women get conned and cheated at this point.
Of
They're
course.
already in grief, and it happens. I mean, I've seen it with my own mother. So,
Hmm, hmm.
you have to know
Yeah, that's very
what is
essential
what.
in today's day and age when there is so much of awareness. And you can learn anything that you want at just the click of a button. Why wouldn't you do it?
Hmm.
Isn't it? I
And
mean,
there's so many apps, Sangeeta,
yeah,
which help you with personal finances.
correct.
Lakshmi is there, Salt is there. They're
Hmm.
all for women to use their personal finances, learn
Yeah.
for personal finances.
I mean, in earlier days,
Just
yes, there wasn't so much. In the sense, there wasn't also so much of opportunity available. If women wanted to, it was
hmm,
difficult. Nowadays, it isn't. Like you
hmm,
can if you have the, like they say, where there is a will, there is a way. So yeah, all right.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, Kiran, nowadays, of course, we see a lot of women are not only following their dreams and passions, but they're becoming very successful at that. Yeah, having great careers with their ambitions and heading companies and running businesses and all of that. So, how do you think the world takes to such women? And when I say the world, I mean both men and women. How do they react to them?
That's an interesting question, Sangeeta. How does the world react to women who are successful? I wouldn't know. But
Well, you're successful, I'm sure you know.
there are a lot more very successful women out there. I
Yeah.
think there's There's this kind of judgment that sits around a very successful woman.
Okay.
Everybody is eager to see when she will fall, when she will slip. She has to be doubly on her guard to be perfect. And a little slip anyway, and they will tear her down. And they will tear her down not just within the professional circles. They will tear her down on social media. They will tear her down on even within the immediate circumference of family and friends and relatives. So there will be the applause, there will be the the wowing, and there will be all the hurrahs and everything when she is achieving. But the moment, and she also becomes, in a way, I think the icon that other younger girls look up to if she is successful. And when, for God forbid, if there's any slip up or any goof up, you see a lot of women in very powerful positions who have been set up as the glass cliff.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
They've been set up to just be the fall guy and take, manage a desperate situation which cannot be managed.
Yes.
And then we're so quick to, pull them down when that happens as people, as onlookers. I also feel that women have great resilience despite everything. So a woman who is in a powerful position is obviously there because she is twice as good as the men around her. Because the glass ceiling, we all know, still exists. The gender gap still exists. The pay gap exists. The circumstances domestically, women are still doing 80% of the work at home. Maybe not the physical work, but the actual managing of the day-to-day thing compared to the men. So despite all this against them, the old boys network is very predominant. The old women's network, old girls network barely exists. So despite all these disadvantages, if a woman has made it to the top, she's definitely very, very good at what she does. And then there will be the, okay, she slept her way to the top sometimes. That's the easiest way to pull down a woman who's made it to the top. And there's always kind of slurs and aspersions on how she makes it. Very few will give credit where credit is due and say, okay, she deserves it and she's worth, being given that position. So it's a double-edged sword. She will be put on a pedestal, but they will also be quick to topple her down.
Yeah.
If there's any reason to.
I agree. And it's always like, if you're good at your work, then maybe you're neglecting your home. You're not looking after your children. So there is always that element of judgment. And it's very unfortunate, but it's both men and women who do it. Even women will not kind of, sometimes, they will also pull you down for whatever reasons. So yeah, it does happen.
So I remember, Sangeeta, it does happen. I remember my son was giving his 10th boards and I was traveling on work. And I was on I think the society WhatsApp group or the school WhatsApp group, I forget where it was. And the women were, how can you be traveling when his boards are going on? And I was like, his father's there. He has studied. He has to write the exam. What do I have to do? But that judgment was so heavy that here is a mother who is so unconcerned. She's traveling and it was barely for a day, a day's trip, go come back. But his boards are going on. Because there were women who were taking leave from work for over a month when the kids' boards were going on. And here's this woman traveling happily.
So the opposite. Yeah. So I've been through that myself, so I can totally relate to that. Okay. So there is this trend that I notice around me, which I actually call the midlife rebooting, where you see a lot of people in their early 40s, late 40s, early 50s, switching to different careers, doing things that which are diametrically opposite to what they'd been doing all their lives. So a banker suddenly becoming an author, or somebody taking farming and things like that. So why do you think this is happening? I mean, did the earlier generation never have any hobbies, or what is it? I mean, why is it that you see more and more of people doing these things nowadays?
I think women now realize that they have to reclaim their lives, which I think the earlier generation did not. There was a kind of fatality to their thought process. Okay, this is it. had our kids, our kids have grown up, and now it's time for us to, go do Vanvas Ashram. So it was that progression. And we are like now, okay, I think it's like, the 40s, and I think also menopause. It gives you a kind of jolt. Okay, is this it? Shouldn't there be more to life than what we've done so far? And this is my last chance at being happy with what I'm doing, or to do something that is meaningful and worthwhile. And a lot of people do a complete reboot from, as you said, from completely different professions. They go to different spaces altogether. I think it's so wonderful, but to have that courage to take that leap, it's very difficult. I have a very dear friend, Apurva Purohit, who is on the board of Jagran. And she was a director there, and she was very, really senior. And Apurva chucked it all up to become a, social entrepreneur. I'm so overwhelmed by how difficult that decision must have been in such a position of power. To, give it all up and to start working at the grassroots level with self-help groups across Maharashtra. There's so many cases like that. Another dear friend, Shinjini Kumar, she was at Citibank, and now she set up her own app to help women to understand and navigate personal finance. She's become an entrepreneur too, and she was very senior at Citibank. Of course, Citibank, she quit long back, but Citibank has, of course, now gone out of the country. This is the kind of, these are the kind of leaps that women are taking when they're crossing 40, 50, that, okay, enough, I've done this, and now I want to do something else. And now I want to do it for me. Now I'm not doing it for what is expected of me. Now I'm doing something that will please me and make me happy. And that is the selfishness that I was talking about. Do what makes you happy. And to get there, of course, there has to be a certain amount of financial security before you take that leap. I don't recommend.
That's why I think it's the midlife when you are kind of venturing into that space.
Yeah, you've made your money, you're financially secure, you've got your you've got your investments, you've got your properties, and if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it?
So that courage is needed, definitely, to step out and do something which is different. And then I think also, nowadays there is a lot of acceptability also. People are also flexible. Okay, if somebody wants to do something different, it's okay. And the awareness around us, the opportunity, and there are so many people who inspire you. You see other people doing it, and you kind of also open your eyes to it, that yes, if they can do it, so can I. At least, I can start with a thought process. So I think, all of that is what is, I think, a lot different from how it used to be earlier. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So Kiran, of course, we've been speaking about women and the, various roles that they play in their lives. So, I mean, I don't have to elaborate on all the various roles, the wife and the mother and the daughter, and if you're working, then your work and all of that. So how do you juggle the various roles that you have to play?
As badly as everyone else. I think we are all like, swans gliding on the surface and paddling like mad under the surface. So I have, I'm very lucky in the sense I stay with my mother-in-law, who handles all the kitchen and all the staff. So I don't look at that at all. My only job is the home is to make sure that it's stocked, and thankfully with all the apps that is in ease now.
Yeah.
But how do I manage? I think most of us do that, right? We multitask like hell.
Yeah.
So we're doing 10 things at a time. So, and somehow we manage to do it. So it's no great deal. It's just that we are able to somehow, but the female brain can multitask, the male brain can't. So the female brain can, be working on a deck, can be listening to some other instructions, can be making notes for something else, can be getting the kids' stuff ready for school the next day. We can do it all together, while the man will be like solely focused on what he's doing.
Yeah, they can't do more than one thing, that's for sure.
At a time. So I don't know whether it's a good thing or bad thing, but we get more done.
We do. I mean, if you give a man 2 things to do at one time, I'm sure both of them will not get done. He'll make a mess of both of them, whereas a woman will do those 2 and maybe 2 others as well. So I guess, of course, we have that ability to, but when you have everything on your plate, I mean, there is a timeline and, you have to do it. So how do you is there any way that you Like maybe you prioritize and things like that. That's what I meant when you.
Prioritize. I do have a to-do list. I'm sure all of us have a to-do
Yeah,
list.
yeah,
The important tasks are there. I like to do the frog technique, the big frog, finish off the big frog right in the beginning. Whatever is like really I'm dreading to do, I'll get it done. I start my day by around 5. I finish whatever morning task. My son goes to college and he's a fitness freak, so he wants that, low cal dabba and all that is done. Get to my desk, I'm working, and then of course the house is whatever's running. If I have recordings, I'll go off to recordings. But I know at the start of the week what my week is going to be like.
Okay.
And because I am a freelancer, so to speak, I don't have fixed hours. So podcast recordings can come at any point. Interviews can come at any point. Meetings can crop up. But I do try to schedule on a Sunday my entire week.
Okay.
And I exactly know that on this day I have to do this, I have to deliver this. These are my deliverables for the week. And how will I set about doing this? And how much time do I have factoring in commute between meetings? And sometimes meetings could be emails. I'm sure you know that also. I mean, you've dealt with that, sorry, not know that. But that is the most infuriating thing for me, given traffic. So I try to avoid those kind of things. That anything that I think is not really important where my physical presence is not required, I try to get it done over a call or over emails. And I've become very good at the art of saying no. So I say no to around of 10 invitations or requests or anything that I get, I say no to around 9. So, and I've only learned right now the power to say no, had the courage to say no, so to speak. Because earlier I was always very hesitant. What will people think about me? They'll think I'm so smarmy and she thinks too much of herself. It's okay. I don't have to say yes to everything.
Yeah. So, okay. So, Kiran, where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Having a great time traveling the world.
Okay. All right. And, what about your writing?
I don't see myself 10 years from now. I'm happy if I can get from day 1 to day 2 with my writing. I don't plan anything, Sangeeta. I can't see myself 10 years from now. I've never been able to plan what I do in my life. So I'm not the person who says 10 years from now I'm going to win the book, or 10 years from now I'm going to be a Sahitya Academy winner. And I just hope that the books I write, each is better than the previous one, and they bring joy to the readers, and I'm able to tell stories that I want to tell. That's about it, as far as writing is concerned.
That I think is I think everybody who wants to tell stories, that's a good dream to have. I mean, you're doing that now and you continue to, do it 10 years from now as well, maybe in a bigger, better way. Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so my last and final question, which I ask every guest. Can a woman have it all?
Of course, why not?
All right.
If she wants to, and if she has the courage to say no to a lot of things and a lot of circumstances, and if she has the courage to be disliked, and to be okay with being disliked, she can have it all.
Great. Yes, that's actually a lot of stuff that you have packed in that. Yes, the courage, because I think many times we don't go after our dreams or what we want to do because we don't have the courage. We are worried about what the world will say, or how they will judge us, or whether they will question us. So yeah, a lot of courage is required. And I also think knowing what you want is very essential.
I think within one's gut, one knows. From the time what you are attracted towards, what is your life's calling. At some point in your life, after you've lived a certain number of years, you know that this is what I want to do, this is where my passion lies. It's just the courage to follow that, and to pay heed to your intuition. We sort of have stomp all over our intuition and don't listen to our inner voice, so to speak, and we sort of swat it down and say, keep quiet, this is not the time. And you have more important things to do. You can't be a musician, you can't be a singer, you can't be a designer, you can't do, you can't be a therapist, you can't be a Reiki healer. We keep telling ourselves this is nonsensical. You're in a corporate world and you're in a high-paying profession. Why would you quit it all to do something? You can't run your own cafe, you can't run your bookstore. But
Hmm.
within everybody, that dream is there that one day I'll give this all up and I'll open a bookstore or I'll open a cafe or I'll do something. So we know it somewhere. It's
Yeah.
just that we don't follow through on it. So just be quiet, listen to what your inner self is telling you. And after a point when you decide, okay, this is it, I need to take the jump, just take the jump.
So do you think this is more with women not listening to their inner calling, or is it for men and women both?
Men and women both, more for women because there is so much additional pressure to be a certain way and to do certain things, to be answerable and responsible for so much. There's
Yeah.
so much of uh, expectations in terms of even domesticity, maintaining social relationships, maintaining familial relationships. All that comes primarily on the woman to manage.
Yeah.
So, so there's too much juggling that happens, I think, and it's not necessary. It's okay. Just say,
Hmm.
I'm
So
going to focus on myself.
yes, I think so. Know what your all is and then go out to get it. Right? Don't stop yourself. I think you're right. Many times we just stop ourselves because this is not right. This is, how, I mean, what will happen to the house or what will happen to the husband or the children. And I think we put all these things, before our own interests and our calling. And I think that's why we don't end up doing what we want to do.
And we become very resentful and bitter. And that's not a good place to be.
That is not a good place to be in. So
I sacrificed my entire life for you, and what is this? We'll be telling our kids later. And the kids will be like, we didn't ask you to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've heard this in the past in movies, and we've read about it where parents or mothers have said this, I did all this for you. But yeah, they never ask you to do it. It's your choice. Yeah. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Kiran. It was indeed wonderful getting your views and insights into these, things, questions, which I think a lot of women they face, and a lot of women they have these, but somehow sometimes you don't know what the answers are. And when you hear somebody else maybe resonating with you or saying the same thing that you are saying or thinking, I think it helps a lot. And that's the whole thing why we do this over here, why we get women achievers to talk about their lives. So thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure completely. Thank you so much for having this show. It's very important that women hear diverse voices and find something that resonates with them. So thank you for doing this show.
Thank you. Thank you.